it.
We never quit. We never fail. We never run. We never tell.
What's up? I love this. What a sunny day.
I've never seen a highlight reel of myself before like that. I appreciate that.
Usually we got highlights of dudes dunking JB and crazy highlights. That was nasty. We got to get a different highlight there.
Just you walking. I like it, JB. And we are so happy to have you on here because 11-3 since mid-December. It's just a brand new story being told in Detroit. What's different? What's changed?
I mean, to be honest with you, we're just having a good time. You know what I mean? Like the guys have bought into each other. They bought into their roles. We've got guys who are playing really good basketball. But when you look at it, you know what I mean? It's diverse. You know what I mean? Like Cade obviously is having an amazing season. But we got so many guys that are contributing and they just love being a star in their role. And when you get guys that buy in and trust each other, and want to do something for, something greater than themselves, you have the opportunities to overachieve and be successful. We've had a nice little run here.
Jay, the Pistons obviously looking good. The Lions are fully back. How much buzz and how much energy is in Detroit right now?
Oh, it's wild here, man. It's wild. Like Detroit is a sports town. The Lions obviously got it going early on this season. You watch those games and, my son has gone to a couple of the games, like the energy in that building is crazy. And to expect, this Saturday where we play the Suns and then they play the Commanders, it's going to be wild down here for sure.
Have you had any thoughts of Dan Campbell coming in there and just turning you guys up for a game? Because every time I listen to this dude talk, I'm ready to play. And it takes a lot to get me ready to play.
Well, at your age, I'm sure it does. But no, he is I reached out to him when we first moved here. We went over to watch some of their training camp stuff. But, I really would, obviously want to let him have his time and focus on what he needs to focus on because, they got an opportunity, here to win a Super Bowl, win a championship. So, when their season is over, we definitely will get together, have him over here, have him talk to the guys, see if he can give us a little bit of that spark too.
Coach, and like you just mentioned, the city is on fire right now. The energy is up, but as you guys begin to build solid foundation for your future, how has the city embraced this Pistons team? And speak to us a little bit about you just being there and being a part of that.
For sure. Like I said, there's such a history here of basketball. And, they're desperate to get it back. And I think that's one of the things, as soon as you get here, you get a good feel of like what the fan base is about, like what they enjoy. You go back to the Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton group, Ben Wallace, and then all the way back to the Bad Boys. There's a grit and a toughness and a physicality that this fan base wants to see its teams play with. They want to see them play selfless basketball, do all the dirty work. And that's one of the things that, our guys have embraced. Like we got guys that don't mind the scrap, you know what I mean? Like Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart, we got guys that are out there and they're getting in the trenches and doing what they knew. JD, Like that's where they thrive is in the trenches. So that's part of the identity here, but the fans are excited. Obviously, it's been some ups and downs the past few years, but the fans are still here. They still want to see their Pistons be successful. And we're not a finished product either. We're still a young group that's working to get better. So it's an 82-game season. We understand that there's going to be some ups and downs, but we're going to make sure that we focus on keep getting better every day and put a group of guys out there on the floor that the city can embrace.
Coach, it looked like you can't escape that snow, man. You can't get away from the cold weather. What's the off day like in Detroit out there in mid-January?
Netflix.
Listen, I was laughing today because I was driving into the office to do this, and as I'm driving, it's 19 degrees on the thermostat. The snow's coming down, but the sun is shining, and I was like, I don't know how all this is happening at the same time. But that's a good day in Detroit. You know what I mean? So, again, a lot of time inside for sure. But, this is a great city with a lot going on. It's on the up and up for sure. It's growing a ton. They're investing a lot of money in the city. And I know Chandler won't believe me, but this is a heck of a place to live. You know what I mean? Like there's area out here where it's like Beverly Hills of the Midwest out here.
Oh yeah,
Stop.
out there in Birmingham.
Yeah,
those
Chandler.
areas.
There you go.
I will say, I was just there for this FanDuel photo shoot, and the Shinola Hotel, very, very nice. So they're going up and up.
Time in Detroit, you'll
Just-
find some hidden gems. You know, I got family out there, so I've spent some time in the summers and all of that in Detroit, so I understand.
I
Okay,
believe
yeah,
that.
so you get it.
Jay, you guys also go and add some much needed leadership with some vets, Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley. How much is that paid off just on such a young building team? And how much impact, or who in general has had such an impact, like in the locker room with a budding star like Cade Cunningham?
No, I mean, I think that was one of the shrewdest moves of the offseason. You know, a lot of people may have thought some bigger trades or sexier moves may have happened, but what Trajan did in the offseason to get those three guys here, you know, was big for this organization and its growth and the steps we wanted to take. You know, you look at the career that Tobias Harris has had, you know, the playoff games that he's been in, the amount of games that he's played. That's one of the things that stood out to us is like Tobias Harris plays games. I think last year he played 78 games. You know, Tim Hardaway plays games. Malik Beasley plays games. So that was something that was important to our guys, so that our guys have, you know, representatives or role models of what do you do on and off the court to prepare yourself to play in games and be available, which is number one, right? Their ability to still get out on the court and impact the game. You know, obviously, you see what Malik is doing as a shooter, you know, how Timmy's played for us as a shooter. And Tobias has had, you know, a dynamic role for us, you know, taking over in some fourth quarters to score, you know, helping us rebound. Like he's just all over the place. So those three guys intentionally were brought here because they helped our young guys be better basketball players. And could take away some of the pressures from them when it came down to learning how to win, because now you can watch those guys. And I think you go back, you know, even to our last game versus New York, where, you know, obviously they trap Cade. He makes the right decision to get off the ball. You know, Tim's got a couple looks at it, but 2 times in a row, he makes the one more to Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley knocks down 2 big threes for us to close that game out. So, like, that's us learning and them teaching, you know, what winning looks like and how you can do it consistently.
Malik Beasley at the Garden is a menace with the three.
By the way,
Go ahead,
Jay,
Chandler.
my question is, when you take a job like this, right, do you just look for progress? Do you look for results? Do you make team goals? Like, is it the play-in now? Is it the playoffs? Like, come training camp, what was like your initial message to this team?
To be honest with you, and I know, you know, it's coach speak, and so sometimes it can be boring, but like our responsibility was to help each individual on the team get better every single day, right? Like you can watch as much film as you want to on a team and on guys, but until you're with them every single day and you are getting them to do the things that you need them to do, that's how you really learn them. Like you build relationships with guys, and then you can figure out like, okay, where is the ceiling for this group or this individual player? So when we showed up at training camp, that's what we were aiming to do, was try to build the best relationships with the guys that we could, and then instill a foundation, you know, and our foundation is, you know, every single night we can control how hard we can compete, and we can control how selfless we play the game. And, you know, if we go out and do that enough, you know, the progress is going to happen. Our assistant coaches do an amazing job of developing players and putting together game plans and that type of thing. So, you know, if we continue to progress, we felt like we could beat some teams. You know, how quickly we would get here, we weren't sure. But now there's a growing belief in our locker room that we can show up on any given night and beat anybody.
Yeah, that ceiling getting higher and higher.
And obviously, you know, anybody who was watching last year, despite what the record ended up being, Cade Cunningham is special. So you get this job. Is he sort of on your list of priorities? Like, all right, I'm going to sit down with him. What was that first meeting like? What kind of an explanation or a vision did you sort of lay out for him?
Again, yeah. I mean, I don't know how well or how many, you know, often you guys have been around Cade, but Cade is not only a special basketball player, but he's a special human being. You know, you talk about a young guy with leadership qualities that are through the roof, a young guy who understands, not only the game of basketball, but his teammates and what they need, a guy who stands for something, like every single day. He has his principles and his beliefs, and he stands on those beliefs. And I think that's, most important for a young guy who is, the number one guy on a team. And then he backs it up with the basketball ability. So my conversation to him was, let's get to know each other, but here are my expectations, my non-negotiables. And then I asked him what he wanted and how I could best help him be the player that he wants to be. And that's our job as coaches. Our job is to get out of the way and put guys in position to be successful and put them in positions of strength and let them go out there and do their thing. They're all so talented. We just have to make sure they know that they have our trust and our belief in them. And then they can go out and do amazing things, which is what Cade is doing this year.
Not to make the comparison, but maybe a little bit, just because, when we're watching games, we're sort of thinking these things. And you had prime James Harden in Houston. Cade does so many things on the court. Do you see some similarities between the two?
Yeah, for sure. Their ability to get to their spot, to be a big guard. Cade is obviously he's bigger than James was, but James was physical and he could get to his spot. And that's what it comes down to. When you're the elite in that group, it's a make or miss thing because most defenses can't stop you from getting to your spot. And that's what James and Cade have in common. Their ability to see the floor. James is a fabulous passer. Cade has the ability to make passes and see the game, obviously because of his size and his skill. And then having the empathy for their teammates. Like Cade knows, how do I get this guy a shot because he hasn't had a shot in 3 or 4 possessions? How do I get, him a touch here? Like the defense is playing me this way. I'm just going to do this. And then at the end of the game, now the defense has tough decisions to make. So their feel for the game is similar as well.
All-star starter. I mean, how are we making this happen? What's the plan here?
I know our organization is pushing it. They're out there trying to get it done. Obviously it's hard to control the fan vote because some of it does come down to popularity, but there's no doubt about it. I'm hard pressed to find a guard in all the NBA, that's playing better than Cade. There's a lot of guys out there that are playing well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking anybody, but, it's hard for me to find somebody who's playing better than Cade is all around. Like we asked Cade to guard the other team's best perimeter players. Like the other night he was guarding Jalen Brunson. He doesn't get off nights on either end of the floor and still has to carry that burden for us. And go out and get it done on the offensive end and close out games in the fourth quarters, rebounding at a high level, assisting at a high level. So it's just difficult for me to find anybody out there that's playing better than Cade right now.
There you have it. And Coach, you guys are about to go on your longest road trip of the season, a 9-day run, back-to-back games in Houston, Atlanta. And, as you know, this is a pivotal part of the season going into that break. How do you keep guys locked in and get that message across of how important this trip is, and not allowing guys to start looking ahead and going on vacation too early? How do you keep these guys locked in for a 9-day trip?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to continue to be hungry. And I think that's the mindset of our group is we don't change based on the weather, right? What we do, it travels. We do it every single day. We're consistent in our approach. We don't start skipping ahead. We don't talk about games in the future. All we do and our guys do is focus on the problem or the challenge that's in front of them. And then how do we figure out the way to be successful in that challenge? So that's the mindset going in is we don't even bring it up. All we talk about is today. How can we get better today? Our guys, again, I give them a ton of credit. When we got here, they were so open to the ideas that the coaches, the front office had put out in front of them. And they've continued to be that way. And their openness and their willingness to buy into each other first and foremost, and then into what we're trying to do has helped us continue to grow. And that's the aim. We don't want to take steps backwards. We want to keep pushing forward.
Oh, Lou, I thought do you have anything? Okay, you don't. I'm going to switch gears for a really quick moment here because we didn't ask you this last time you were on. Obviously, you and Chandler are very close. Chandler has been traumatized by his time in Memphis and can't seem to get over it. So is there a part of you that feels even a little bad that you convinced him to go there?
No, not at all. He was
I
well
had
taken care
96
of to go to Memphis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle, I had 96 million reasons, and I feel bad for you, Michelle. Don't need to be.
No one should ever feel bad for Chandler Parsons and the life he gets to live.
I mean, I say that every day to anyone who will listen, Coach. Like he's the luckiest SOB I have ever met in my entire life.
I will say
If I didn't like him, I'd hate him.
my first ever draft workout coming out of college was a group workout in Minnesota, and JB was the guy running the workout. And we kind of hit it off there. He ends up moving to Houston, and that's who drafted me. So me and JB have been family ever since I came in. We've had some wars, we've had some headbutts. One time I had to jump his ass because he told me to do something Chase Budinger was doing. What I say, Jay? I said,
I'm not Chase Budinger. It was the most spoiled, rotten little kid answer you possibly could have ever heard. I'm not Chase Budinger. I was like,
we get along.
disgusting.
You're disgusting. Oh, Chandler.
I do want to talk a little bit about your coaching career. You started coaching in Charlotte with the Bobcats. What do you think of when you hear names like Emeka Okafor, Sean May, Raymond Felton?
It was awesome, man. I'm not gonna lie. I was 24 years old, I believe, when I started coaching. Coaching guys that were older than me, coaching guys that, like Jason Hart was on that team, and he and I had been on the AAU circuit together. We were roommates at ABCD camp over the summer. So like it was pretty awesome to be in that position. I was lucky because I got to work with my dad, which was, a great learning opportunity. Mom's had us over every Sunday morning for breakfast that she would cook. So, I got real fond memories of those days. Obviously Sean and Raymond, Emeka, that was like for me, the learning point of the NBA. Like even growing up in it, you don't really know the ins and out of it in the day to day. But that was the beginning for me, and understanding how to build team, how to help young players get better. But we had a lot of fun back there with that group. Every year that team got better. We were extremely competitive. So it kind of helped me understand, and it's been helpful in my career of how to help build franchises and build teams, which is the jobs that I've been, fortunate enough to have been opportunities to grow team, grow individual guys, and help grow young players.
It was also your first year in Charlotte with the expansion draft. You guys draft Gerald Wallace, another name I imagine didn't think you'd hear today. What was it like coaching him? How was he? I used to love Gerald Wallace.
He was awesome. Like you talk about a guy who laid it on the line every single possession. Like he ended up, I don't know if you guys remember this, but his nickname ended up being Crash Wallace, right? Because every game he would end up in the stands, he would end up in the stanchions, he would be sliding on his stomach, trying to chase down a loose ball or whatever it was. But like he was a guy who every possession just laid it on the line, and he never quit until the whistle blew or the buzzer sang, But he was a freaky athlete. Like he could get to the basket. I think there was a game where he had 42 points and didn't have one, 3-point shot. And that's hard to do as a wing. But yeah, he just was one of those guys, man, that you just love to see play because he was so competitive and just so fierce.
Coach, when you moved on from Charlotte, you went over to Minnesota in 2009, and the T-Wolves, they took Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn back-to-back just right before Steph Curry was taken 7th overall. Hindsight's 2020, but do you remember the thought process in those picks?
Yeah, I do. And, again, you're not going to find a bigger Ricky Rubio fan than me. I was lucky enough to have him in for the summer, and then I left Minnesota, and then we had him in Cleveland. And you talk about a maestro of the game of basketball. You talk about a guy who people just love to play with. And Ricky Rubio was that guy. Like he was the type of guy who every single day you showed up, like you just wanted to give him a hug and you knew you were going to feel better after you gave him a hug. And you know what I mean? Like he had that type of impact on the game. The decision of whether or not those guys could play together and, those types of things, that was a long, long time ago. But, I think obviously it worked out for Steph pretty well. And Ricky had a hell of a career also.
Do you ever dwell on like what if draft scenarios over the years? You sitting back having a beer like, damn,
Even right now,
yeah,
even right now this year, is there like a player that you coach against? You're like, God damn it, we could have took this dude. Like, do you think like that as a coach or not? You just
No, you can't. You can't. You know what I mean? Like you spend so much time focusing on what you have if you're doing it the right way, and how do you help the people that you have, right? You don't have enough energy to talk about, what could have happened, what should have happened. And, at the end of the day, we've all made bad choices at some point in time, right? So, you can't sit there and say like, oh, he should have done that. He should have made this pick. Like we've all done, great things, and we've all made some mistakes. So, you just take advantage of the things that are in front of you and try to make the most of it.
Do you ever do it in like either other organizations in the NBA, or do you do it with other sports? Because I feel like when we're watching games, we're like, man, that guy could have been there and it would have been a totally different destiny. Do you do that for any of them?
No, the only regret I have is probably Chandler Parsons. That's probably the biggest regret.
I got you your first head coaching job. Don't you forget it. I got you your first head coaching job, okay? And I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, and it still didn't pay me $96 million, so you're welcome.
Son of a mother. Yeah, seriously, the coaching thing is, you guys are wired differently, coaches are, because it's a crazy life. It's sort of a 24/7 eat, live, breathe, all of it. And then you're constantly under pressure, depending on what organization you're with. Some have more patience than others. So when you go into a new coaching position, how much of that just kind of lingers, or are you just sort of a day-to-day guy?
Yeah, you can't think about it that way. I know a lot of coaches will say like we're hired to be fired. I don't see it that way. Like we're hired to do a job. And every single day you have to show up and do that job. And, like you've got a plan. And like, I'm very fortunate to have a partner here in Trajan Langdon, who he and I see things very similarly. But I trust him, and he's asked me to do a job and go out and execute it. And he lets me go and do that job. This isn't something that I just came up with on my own. He and I had a lot of late nights, a lot of long conversations, and we say, hey, how do we want to go about it? Okay, here's your responsibility to go execute it. And he's given me the freedom, to go out and execute that game plan. So that's the way I see the game. And that's the way that I was, raised by my dad to see the game is, you've got a job to do, and your sole focus is doing that job to the best of your ability. And all the other stuff doesn't matter. You know what I mean? All the outside noise, all the, so-called pressure, like that stuff doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how well you execute the plan. And then even then, sometimes when you execute the plan the right way, they'll politely tell you to move on as well. And you just have to be prepared for that.
Oh, you're a better man than most. I would be petty to the end, and I know Chandler would be as well. Chandler, would you like to say goodbye?
Yeah, keep it rolling, JB. Appreciate you coming. Keep that beard growing too. I like it better with a beard than that little shaved face that you've been rocking.
That's
JB,
weird.
I got a text from one of your assistants yesterday. I'll leave him nameless, but Chandler had a crazy Kobe take yesterday by a lot of people's opinions. He said we need to get drug tested up here. So
Find me one list that Kobe's in the top 3 of all time, and I'll quit.
Every
He
list.
is in a lot.
Do not double down on this, Chandler.
Don't do this. Sorry, Coach. We're not going to drag you into this.
It's all right.
No.
Oh, I know what you deal with. Believe me, I know what you deal with. So
Best of luck the rest of the way. It's been awesome. We appreciate you
Thank
being
you,
on.
guys. Appreciate
Take a
you
quick
guys.
break. We'll be back.
Run it back, run it up, then run it back, run it up.